first day of Rohatsu session. Really grateful for all of your participation in session, and grateful to be able to come here to the Abbey and do this intense, wonderful practice together with you. This is my first Dharma talk with Bodhi in the room, and he doesn't seem very interested. I'm still enjoying and feeling very satisfied by this delicious lunch that we just had. I think it's one of the most delicious lunches I've had here, and that is saying a lot over the years. I also think it was the most orange lunch I've ever had. And I have a personal practice of paying attention to the colors of my food, and as well as the texture and how much I'm eating. Something I'm doing at home to connect with the intimacy of meals. And this with Roshi Shinko's meals is a wonderful place to do that. So the meals have always been just a wonderful ally in our practice in these sessions here at the Abbey. And that's one thing I'll mention. We're in the first day. We're still, perhaps, have some activity of our mind and still moving. Yeah, some nods for that. It's been less than a day. And there's a kind of way that we use our minds out in the world outside of session, which is very analytical and very controlling and very planning. And that way of using our minds is reinforced outside of session. So we come in here, and that way of using our minds isn't supported at all. It isn't reinforced because we recognize how it can distort us and throw us off. So we're perhaps in this period of having a lot of that activity storming around without a lot of reinforcement or anywhere to go with it, kind of all dressed up with nowhere to go. And so there can be a discord around that, kind of a turbulence around that. And maybe we're a bit in the midst of that, settling down. And I want to honor that part of the process. We're early in session. So I'd like the talk to be spacious and connecting with each other, and I'd like you to relax. And please just take in my words as they come to you. I'm speaking about allies and obstacles in session as we get started here. And all of you are veterans of session, so none of this is new to you. I just wanted to appreciate together some of the things that we've become aware of in our practice and that we know to be the obstacles and difficulties that we face, and the ways that we can support each other and ourselves during session. And I hope just by appreciating it together, it'll bring it alive for us here at the beginning of session. I wanted to start with reminding us of the story that I think we've all heard of the lay family Pang. This story that goes back to the golden age of Zen in the 9th century, pretty sure, of layman Pang and his wife and his daughter, Lin Zhao. It's had a big effect on me, especially over the last few years, just the depth of the family's practice and also the diversity of their practice. So I'll say the account again. I know most of you have heard it. The layman was sitting in his thatched cottage one day studying the sutras. Difficult, difficult, he said. It's like trying to scatter 10 measures of sesame seeds all over a tree. Easy, easy, Mrs. Pang said. It's like touching your feet to the ground when you get out of bed. Neither difficult nor easy, Ling Zhao, their young daughter, said. On the 100 grass tips, the great master's meaning. So I see difficult. We have so many things to take care of. So many things that we try to understand, that we try to fix or control. I've wondered about this image that Layman Pong allegedly used. It's like trying to scatter hundreds of sesame seeds on a tree. So why are you trying to scatter sesame seeds on a tree? What is up with that? So I actually researched it. I went to Wikipedia and I looked into sesame seeds and what one does with them and how they're harvested. And sure enough, nowhere are you advised to throw them against a tree. And I think that's the meaning. You know, he's saying just engaging in this activity, which is counterproductive. It's just like hitting things together. I mean, we want to plant them or we want to eat them, but throwing them against the tree is just a waste of time. And nothing sticks, nothing roots. So the difficulty of the practice as he's sitting there studying the sutras is he's trying to understand it, he's trying to analyze it, he's trying to have it sink in to himself in that way. But when he's studying in that way, it doesn't take root, and that's the difficulty. That is difficulty. And we all experience these difficulties all the time. Because we're doing the same thing. We're throwing sesame seeds against the tree. We come into session and we're driven by drives, subconscious drives, psychological and emotional and physical drives. And a lot of those drives are conflicting with each other. So we're working with all of these conflicting emotional, physical, and psychological drives within ourselves, and we're bringing to that situation a very self-centered mindset, and a mindset that's very habit-ridden. We have conditioned ways of handling the conflicts that we feel within ourselves. And when we bring our study of the Dharma in this way of trying to fix or understand even these conflicts in this way, then it's difficult. But it's also easy. Like Lay Woman Pong said, studying the Dharma is our natural functioning. The Dharma itself is our natural functioning. It's like getting out of bed. When we wake up, we might not even be fully awake, and our feet touch the ground, and our feet take the weight, and we shift our weight and we get up. No thought, natural. And we're doing this constantly. We may slip and fall. That's natural functioning. We brush our teeth. It's natural functioning. Making mistakes. Natural functioning. Dropping a plate. Natural functioning. And we're not adding anything extra. It's natural functioning. So in this way, the Dharma is easy. And then the daughter Lin Zhao brings us to the emptiness dimension. There's no functioning, and there's no one to function in the Dharma. The master's meaning, the Dharma, glows from every grass tip. No one there. Our tendency is to want to bypass the difficult, to go through the easy, and to get to emptiness. I know that's my preference. But it doesn't work that way. Practically, things are difficult. Our minds make them difficult because of the way we take our lives. So this session is likely to be difficult and easy and neither. You might be in a place of difficulty and the person next to you might be in a place of ease. You could be in a place of ease and Someone else can be in emptiness. Even in the course of this talk, you may go through these aspects. So I encourage us to accept that. Embrace it even. Embrace the difficulty, embrace the ease, embrace the emptiness. This embrace of all together, embrace of the process in a wholehearted way, is what I hear to be single mind. Sesshin, unified mind. We're not only unifying minds with each other, but within ourselves. We're unifying all of those aspects, all of those ways of being, all of those ways of responding to the world, externals and internals. So I want to appreciate together some of the difficulties, some of the obstacles that we all face during session. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on these or dwell on these. Actually, I just want to bring them up in a way of honoring them and appreciating them, and not pathologizing them as if we need to make these things go away, because that resistance will just create more energy for that type of activity of the mind. But really to honor them and to accept them. Right? Our minds are overactive. That's a primary condition. They're more active than necessary. We're throwing those sesame seeds at the tree, and it's not needed. We're analyzing problems that don't need to be analyzed. We're trying to fix things that don't need to be fixed. We're commenting on things that don't need to be commented on. Right? So it's just much. Okay. Overactive minds. Okay. Expectations. We come in to session with expectations. We come into each day with expectations. I was thinking about this, and it's impossible not to have expectations. In my view, in my experience, there's always something. What's it going to be? How's it going to turn out? What's going to happen? It's just I'm naturally speculating on that. How will the next day be? How will the next period be? What's going to happen next? But I have seen over the years that session has never gone the way I expect it to. Never. Not once. It might go that way for a few minutes, maybe. And I was mindful that, right on day one, last night even, the heater, the cooler, had a problem with the pump, so the hot water wasn't coming out, and the beeper kept going off. And I was up this morning and hearing that, and Eugen and I were trying to fix it, and we couldn't. We didn't know exactly what was going on, and figured we needed to go get Roshi to see what was going on. And I thought, oh wow, all the work that was put into the session, and here we are in the first morning, and the hot water is gone. But that's the grist for the mill. That's the good stuff, is the unexpected stuff. And we have these internal expectations too. We have expectations about what states we might move through. Perhaps anticipating psychological discomfort coming up, or fear states coming up, or bliss states coming up. And we even maybe manipulate our practice, sitting more or sitting differently in a way to move our experience into those states. That's an expectation too, and that's a manipulation that we're putting onto it in order to change it. And it's all based on an expectation. Things are going to work out a certain way. I do like thinking of this thing that we call the ego as an idea, as a thought pattern. I don't know, we say, the ego doesn't exist as a thing, and then we say, well, but there's this word ego, and it's a thing. So even the word ego doesn't misses something maybe. Yeah, but a thought pattern, this self sense that we have. It's kind of a thought pattern. But also the idea of dropping away the thought pattern is a thought pattern. That's an idea too, so we can't get hung up on that. But we can recognize it as a thought pattern. Taking things personally. This is something that we do a lot. It just comes up naturally in the intimacy of our practice during session. It comes up perhaps in the assignment that we get for Samu or our meal assignment that we have. I saw this happen very vividly in myself a few days ago. I emailed Roshi and I asked him what my Samu assignment was going to be because I wanted to prepare my clothes. And he wrote back and he said, well, we're going to have you doing the dishes for the meals and then rest during Samu. And the first thing that happened was this huge shame wave that hit me. What? I'm going to rest while everybody else is working? What? And this is just weird ego reaction to that. Maybe you've had similar reactions to seeing your, to seeing your assignment or to engaging with your Samu. And of course I let that just, blow away, surge and go away, and I recognized how wonderful that was and what a gift that was for Roshi and Roshi to allow me to rest during session. So a lot of gratitude came up, which of course the shame and the guilt was keeping me, it was blocking me from. And I am very grateful for that. We project onto other people during session quite a bit. We think they're thinking about us, or they have a judgment about us. And even in body language this can come out. Maybe the way somebody passes us in the hall, or the way somebody turns away, even. It's so natural to have a projection where it's about you. So this is all common. It's all every day. We're all doing it all the time. It's all extra. Yeah. But we're creating difficulties when we do it. Preferences. We all come in with our preferences. Preferences of when to hit the sack, how to have our bed made up, how much food to take. During the structure of session limits our freedom to indulge our preferences, which is one of the great gifts of session. But nevertheless, we find these little spaces to express ourselves or to hear our own preferential voices inside of us. I felt that this morning when I put some agave in my tea, and I took a sip, and I realized that it was a stronger agave. And I was, this isn't good. There's these reactions coming up all the time. And then we have stronger resistances that come up to our practice, and you're all familiar with these, so I don't need to talk about them, I just want to appreciate them. So just to recognize and accept our impatience and frustration that comes up. You can check in to yourself, recognize your ability, your capacity, what that feels like within. Anger can come up, and anger can come up as a distancing mechanism from sadness or fear. I think we all know that. Fatigue can manifest as a resistance. It can also be just a reflection of your physical state, but it can also be a resistant mechanism. So we acknowledge that. And the worrying mind, very natural for us to be worrying. I sometimes think that I'm worrying 98% of my life is spent in worry. And I read something from Yogi Bhajan, who's the founder of modern Kundalini Yoga, just about a week ago, which really resonated with me. He said, worry is an endless, ingrown, self-conflicting process of life. An endless, ingrown, self-conflicting process of life. I said, oh, that's why I worry so much. Just something about it just happens. So let's accept that. But all of these can be gateless gates for us. It can be difficulties that needn't be obstructions. Yeah, they can be ways of ease. Marcus Aurelius's, he has a essay, Stoic philosopher, the obstacle is the way. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. I think that's a nice perspective to have in our practice. There's another old Zen story. This comes from the Korean Zen tradition that I think most of us know, but for me was enlivening when thinking about these obstacles and allies in Sesshin, and I wanted to share it again. The Korean monk's name is Won Hyo. It's probably the Chinese version of that Korean name. So he and a friend were traveling to China to study Buddhism, and he was a deep practitioner already, but he wanted to deepen himself. So they were going to China, and they were caught in a heavy downpour on the way, and they were forced to take shelter in what they believed to be an earthen sanctuary. During the night, Won Hyo was overcome with thirst, and reaching out, he grasped what he thought to be a gourd, and drinking from it was refreshed with a draught of cool, refreshing water. When they woke up the next morning, they discovered that their shelter was in fact an ancient tomb, littered with human skulls, and the vessel from which Won Hyo had drunk was a human skull full of brackish water. I think brackish is probably an understatement here. It had pieces of brain, flesh, and maggots in it, is a good way to think of it. So immediately Won Hyo vomited. But then, startled by the experience of believing that this gruesome liquid was a refreshing treat, he had this breakthrough experience, astonished at the power of the human mind to transform reality. And after this one mind experience, he actually turned around and he said, I don't need to go to China to study anymore. I see how this works. And he went back and he practiced as a layman. He didn't take monastic vows. Practice as a layman for the rest of his life. So perhaps we can take every difficulty that comes up for us as an opportunity to be astonished at the power of the human mind to transform reality. Seeing what's extra, always seeing what's extra in our mind. So to appreciate some of the allies that we have, the abundant allies that we have available to us here in Sesshin. And after each one, I'm going to ask us to silently express our gratitude for their assistance. So first is our Zazen practice. Number 1, body, breath, and mind. These 3 elements of our Zazen practice. Body, breath, and mind, always here, always intimate, never distant. The schedule is our ally. We don't have to think about what to do next. We just do the next thing on the schedule. And we can notice how our mind responds to each thing. We can notice how our mind responds to the schedule. But to make the most out of the schedule, we don't want it to become routine. We don't want it to shift into autopilot and think that every day is going to be the same, because we know it's not. But we do have a tendency to shift into autopilot. Okay, this is how it is. I got this wired. I got this schedule wired. I know how to bank my energies and put them out and rest and not. And there's an art to working with your body and mind during session, no doubt. But also don't let that tip over into autopilot, if possible. It's really a suggestion. I'm going to say, don't let it tip over into autopilot. It tips over into autopilot. Okay. It's a suggestion to be aware of. So we'll take a moment and appreciate and thank the schedule and the timekeepers for this session. Our teachers are a strong ally for us. We're so fortunate to have these Roshis with their deep caring, their deep wisdom, and their diverse voices. Take advantage of Dokusan. Really listen deeply to the Dharma talks. In Dokusan, present yourself with vulnerability and respect for their time, and bring openness and courage to your Dokusan with them. They are amazing. And also, you can observe them through the course of the session. So much of the teaching that I've gotten from them over the last 2 decades has been watching them, how they operate, how they move, how they don't draw attention to themselves in anything, but they function fully in heart and mind, and in matters even too subtle for me to describe. But taking them in this way will be a help to you. So I'd like to take a moment to silently appreciate and thank our teachers. The grounds are a great ally. This is an amazing place, as we all know. It can be an intoxicating place. Some of you might be experiencing that. And the energy that we feel coming here can just open up chakras like you've never seen before. It's really quite remarkable. So pay attention to the grounds, not just what you see, but the feel of the grounds. Pay attention to your feet. Feel your weight moving through the grounds. Appreciate the light as it changes. And take care of the grounds. Take care of what needs taking care of, what you see. So all of this, your physical experience of the grounds, are an ally for you. Silently appreciate the grounds for a moment. Samu is a great ally for us. Just throw yourself into the Samu and it will help you to come alive during the session. we oftentimes have strong reactions to our samu. We do something that we're maybe not quite comfortable doing, or might trigger some things from your past, maybe things that you did in your youth. I've had a lot of those come up over the years doing samu. And these are great doorways for us. Obstacles that are the way. And we see how our mind is adding something extra to that experience. In the window? Yeah, it's okay.
It's kind of warm, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the grounds, I'll let some air in. The samu is a great ally because it does bring up things that we can see very directly, and then we can let them go if we are ready to let them go. Yeah. And then we can use our samu as a meditation, because oftentimes it's a very rhythmic activity. So we put ourselves, body and mind, heart and soul into our activity, and just to allow the meditation to deepen in that. And then we can also treat our work as an offering, as service. There's the famous story of Hyakujo and his early Zen master who actually established the monastic codes and helped to formalize those. And many of you know the story of him when he was in his old age, and his seniors didn't want him working out in the field, so they stole his tools away from him. But he insisted upon working. And there was an interesting second part to this story that I came up on as I was reading this, and I wanted to share that. Hyakujo was always insistent on working every day. When he was old, he persisted in his working. And the monks felt sorry for him, so they hid his tools. He said, "I have no virtue. Why should others work for me?" So I read this as, I have no special virtue. I'm not different from anybody else. Why should others work for me? And then he refused to eat, saying a day of work is a day of no eating. And then the second part was Yun Yen, I think that's one of his monks. He asked Hyakujo, every day there's hard work to do. Who do you do it for? I think he's trying to get him to stop. He's trying to like philosophically argue him out of working, but no chance. Hyakujo responds. So the question is, who do you work for? And Hyakujo says, there's someone who requires it. And Yun Yen the monk says, why not have them do it himself? And Hyakujo says, they have no tools. Or they have no hands. He's the tool. He's the hand. So, in this understanding, there's no work and leisure. And in Zen practice, there's no work and leisure. There is life. Day, night, and life. The work is a service as well. And our service is a service as well. We get to do this deep, profound absorption in our chanting service every day. And this helps us to be impersonal as well as being a great meditative practice. And we're just giving away all our merits every day. I notice we've got a new energy in our chants in the service we did this morning. There's and Gyodo's bringing, I think, a faster chant and an energetic chant. So I think he's inviting us. I think the teachers are inviting us to put our power, put our energy into that chant service, and also give give away the merits. So finally coming back to Zazen as our main ally in session. Body, breath, and mind. Always take care of your body. Stretch when you need to, rest when you need to. For a long time I didn't stretch very much during session. I was just so focused on the sitting meditation that I think I distorted my practice a bit. It wasn't balanced, and I got stuck, and that wasn't good. So I've learned to stretch more, and I know most of you have a stretching practice too, so go for it. Our breath, it's always here. We can always connect with it. It's not just in sitting meditation. Always, no matter what you're doing. Samu, resting, eating. It's always available. And then our mind, as that problem-seeking, worrying mind, the overactive mind starts to settle, these deeper dimensions of our mind start to arise, start to fortify, and we can lean into these qualities of being meticulous in our attention, being patient with ourselves, being curious, being diligent. These are capacities that we all have, and if we just turn into our inner powers, then they become allies in session. Your own curiosity becomes an ally. Your own patience. In the Shinshin Ming, Sung San says, when all is seen with equal mind, to our self-nature we return. This single mind goes right beyond all reasons and comparisons. Single mind, equal mind. No body, breath, and mind, all together, unified. Difficulty, ease, emptiness, unified. So I hope this helped a little bit in reminding us of difficulties of session and our capacities to deepen our practice in session. Hope everybody enjoys this session, and very grateful going on this journey together with you. Thank you for your attention.